Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am creating a SHAKER Christmas card using the Mice on Ice from Fawn. So first of all I used this Spiffy Speckles paper pack and I die cut the stitched Hillside backdrop portrait. Then I looked at my swatches from my Distress Oxide inks and I came to the conclusion that Victorian velvet and aged mahogany were two colors that fitted perfectly with that pink Spiffy Speckles paper. So here I am masking off my stitched edges with some purple tape because I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending with my Victorian Velvet Distress Oxide ink, and I want to keep those edges white. So I took a piece of paper on the sides and I just dabbed off all the excess, and then I came to my portrait here and I just blended on the edges, also on the edges of the snowy hills, just to create some more depth for this Christmas card. So now I am happy with my background and I'm going to create my card base already so that I can inlay my, my sky piece. The last time that I created one of my SHAKER cards, I forgot to inlay it first and then there was a whole mess. So I'm doing it first now so that I cannot forget to do that before adding my acetate on the back. But yeah, onto my images. Today I am going to do some Noline coloring, this time with my Copic Markers. So I'm using some Neenah to stamp it out and my Ink on 3 Fade Out Noline Coloring Detail ink. I must admit, coloring Noline with Copic Markers is not something that I do often because I find it really hard with that brush tip to get everything in the lines, and I'm so sorry that you cannot see me coloring immediately. Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes I apparently hold my markers a bit higher, a bit more vertically, so here you can see a bit more, but yeah. So what I was saying, Noline coloring with Copic Markers. For me it's something really difficult. I have more control over my zigs, more control over a pencil, or even when I'm doing some watercoloring, I have more control than with that brush tip from the Copic Markers. But I did it already, I think, twice, that I was happy with the results, so I thought, why don't I do it again? So here you can see the whole process. I went over it a few times to create more depth and get that image right. The wonderful thing about the Copic Markers is that that color will stand there and will be there all the time. It will not fade out in light or anything. It's a really bright coloring that you can do. So yeah, that's why I wanted to try it again, and I'm happy that I did. Not that it will be something that I get used to and do often, but I will try to do it more to get more used to it. So my mice are all colored in the same color combo of these browns, being the E's. I really like using E51, 53, E15. It's a wonderful combination together. E33 is also one of them. It's just a color combination that goes really well in my opinion. So I'm going over all these elements, trying to get the no-line coloring going on. But yeah, for the rest, there are, as you can see, I already am using different ways to color this. In the first one I started with the mid-tone. This one I first went in with the darkest one. It's just preference, okay? So whatever goes for you, you can do. But I think it's important to first trace your lines for the no-line coloring, that you really know where your image is, and then you can continue coloring it in like usual. But just make sure for yourself that you see where you need to color it in. For the rest of the coloring, I will be putting on some music and I will be back afterwards. So now the coloring is done, and as you can see, I haven't added any details like the eyes or the skis down the bottom. So here I am doing some fiddling. I am masking off the whole image with my purple tape, and I'm ripping it apart as it should go, except for the eyes, and I'm also trying to get those skates inked up. And then I am inking it with some gray River Rock Long Font River Rock ink. Sometimes this works perfectly, but in my case this time I really found that it wasn't always that crisp. So in the end I will be using this ink as a guide, and I will be adding some Micron black on top of those skates, as well as some Glaze Pen on the eyes of the mice. But if it would have worked out perfectly, I would have let it be like this. But it wasn't the easiest image to get everything like the skates. It was really hard to mask off the shoe part of the ice skates, but in the end I'm really happy with the result. So I'm just adding that Glaze Pen on top of the eyes, and then I'm taking my Micron for the skates. And now that all the details are added, I am taking the matching dies and I'm going to die cut these mice so that I can continue with assembling my cart. So onto my sentiment, I'm going to use a combination of this aged Mahogany for the Wishes, and then Joyful will be in Gina K Design Amalgam ink. Normally, you know me, no line coloring, I try to avoid black, but as I did the eyes and the skates with the black, I decided to also add some black in my sentiment. And I actually really like the result. So So to create my shaker, I took a piece of acetate and I'm going to glue it at the back of this window. And then I can assemble everything, starting with adhering all the mice. And then I will figure out what I'm going to do with my shaker. So I wanted these mice to be like jumping up in the air in the snow of the shaker. So I adhered it on the back on my card base directly so that it could really be in the shaker and not every mice would be outside. I'm adhering the other mice as well, using some different sizes of foam squares to create some different dimensions, and of course some permanent print adhesive roller as well. So having done that, for a shaker I like to use my Darice foam strips. They are perfect to get inside those frames, as well as they are really handy. You can take off the backing and then go in every direction that you need. And also the thickness is perfect to get your shaker material moving, so I really like that. I used a bit of my anti-static powder tool to get some static cling off of it. And now I'm just making sure that there is some foam tape all over this panel. And then before deciding what my shaker material will be, I am first going to remove those backings already, so that I can immediately adhere everything as soon as my shaker materials are on my card base. So I'm taking some purple tape to flatten it out, because I'm going to pour my shaker materials on top of this. So here I'm using the Darice glitter crystal, and I'm also taking some Twinklets diamond dust. And then I can adhere my frame on top of it, and then this card will be finished. So I'm making sure that everything is aligned straight, pressing it down really good, and then I can test out my shaker. As you can see, that my eyes is visible every time, but sometimes it's really covered in the snow, and then it's jumping out again and such. So this is what my card ended up like. So I'm really happy with the result, and I'm glad that I tried to do some Noline coloring with my Copic markers. Yeah, I hope that you like this one as well, that you enjoyed this video. You can always give it a thumbs up, and then I will know for sure. If you have any questions, please leave them down below, and I hope to see you next time as well. Bye!